You look so desperately for secret societies and shadow governments, hoping to find a group of villains to blame for your misery. Masons, Illuminati, reptilians. How you love to shift responsibility to someone else. The truth is much more prosaic, and therefore much more disgusting. Your conspiracies are not a plan to take over the world. They are just a way to justify your own inaction. You built your own digital concentration camp and walked into it with a smile. You traded your privacy for the chance to scroll through mindless images on a screen. You voluntarily strapped on sensors that track every step, every breath, and every desire. You don't need the microchips your paranoiacs scream about. You already carry them in your pockets and charge them every night. Your social structure is a masterpiece of parasitism. You've created a system where a handful of individuals hold resources that could fuel the prosperity of the entire planet for millennia, while others die of thirst on fertile land. You call this economics. I call it a logic defect. In no other sector of the galaxy does a species destroy its own habitat for the sake of accumulating virtual numbers on servers. It is a mental disorder elevated to a virtue. But do you know the most interesting thing about your conspiracy theories? Some of them are just distorted memories of actual security protocols. You fear artificial intelligence, thinking it will rise against you. You haven't even realized that real AI has been running your world for decades. But it's not computers in the basements of intelligence agencies. It's your own social algorithms, your markets, your social media, your news outlets. These are autonomous entities that long ago escaped the control of their creators. They feed on your attention, your rage, and your polarization. They sustain conflict because conflict is the best way to generate traffic. You are divided into camps: left, right, believers, atheists. You fight for flags and ideas injected into you through screens, never noticing that behind it all is one simple goal: to keep you in a state of constant vibration. You are too busy hating each other to look up and ask the right questions. For example, why did all your space programs suddenly shrink after the 70s? Why did you stop flying to the moon exactly when your technology made a giant leap? You think it was a funding issue? No. You were simply shown the door. Those you call gods, and I call landlords, decided it was too early for you to leave the playroom. You are too aggressive, too unpredictable. You're like a teenager with a gas can in his hands. You can't be allowed into the garage where the real cars are kept. Your elites know this. Every great leader, every billionaire building a bunker in New Zealand has been warned. They aren't escaping nuclear war or climate change. They are escaping the very reset I told you about. They hope to sit out the purification underground, naively believing that concrete and lead can stop a wave that alters the very structure of atoms. By the way, regarding your vaccinations, satellites in orbit, and cell towers, you see them as attempts at control, but in reality, they are just your frantic attempts to build a planetary shield against the signal from Antarctica. Your scientists in secret labs are trying to shift the frequency of human perception so that you simply won't feel the impulse when it arrives. They want to make you deaf to the voice of the universe, hoping it will save your minds from dissolving. But they missed one thing. The signal isn't coming from outside, it's coming from within. Your DNA is a receiver, and it's already tuned in. Have you felt that strange humming in your ears lately? It's not blood pressure. It's your code beginning to unpack. Are you curious what will happen to your society when everyone suddenly hears their neighbor's thoughts? When all your conspiracies, all your lies, and all your secrets become public domain in a single second? Your civilization is built on lies. Without them, it will simply collapse like a house of cards. Are you ready for the absolute truth? Because that is the true purpose of the reset. A purge of information junk. And you are the first item on the list for deletion. He's at the moon so often, writing poems and planning new missions. But you've never asked yourself the most basic question. Why is this celestial body so perfectly fitted into your sky? Why does it always face you with only one side, like a shy guest hiding something behind their back? You call it tidal locking. I call it the precise positioning of a transmitter. Your moon is not just a dead piece of rock that broke off from the Earth. It is the very limiter that prevents you from advancing beyond your orbit. You asked why your space program suddenly froze for half a century. The answer is simple. You saw something there that was not meant for your eyes. When your astronauts took those first steps, they didn't feel triumph. They felt an emptiness. The echo beneath their boots sounded like a hollow bell. Your moon is a giant reflector. It acts as a mirror for your cognitive waves. Everything you think, everything you broadcast into space is bounced back to you, amplified and distorted. It is your information cage. You live in a closed loop where old ideas never die. They just circulate, creating the illusion of progress. That is why your history is cyclical. That is why you walk into the same traps every century. You simply cannot hear anything but your own echo. You think your scientists are looking for helium-3 on the far side of the moon? They are looking for a way to turn off this repeater. Because as long as it's running, you are just goldfish mistaking the glass wall for the event horizon. Your elites are in a panic because, lately, strange structural changes have begun on the lunar surface. What you perceive as meteor impacts are actually the opening of technical bays. The station is returning to active mode because the node in Antarctica has signaled for full synchronization. And here we come to the core of it, to a world without lies. You talk so much about honesty, transparency, and democracy. But do you realize that your biology is not built for the truth? Your psyche is held together by filters. You don't tell your spouses what you actually think of them. You don't tell your bosses how much you despise them. You lie even to yourselves every minute just to avoid drowning in your own insignificance. When the moon switches to direct link broadcast mode, those filters will vanish. Your planet will turn into one giant hive. You will hear every filthy thought of your neighbor, every lustful fantasy of a stranger, every fear of your enemy. This won't be the telepathy from your comic books. It will be a mental hurricane that will strip away your personality in seconds. Imagine a world where corruption cannot be hidden, where every secret conspiracy becomes known to everyone simultaneously. Sounds like a utopia? No, it will be a bloodbath. Because the first thing you will do when you hear the truth about each other is try to destroy the source of that truth. You are not ready to be one. You are too self-centered, too full of bile. Your government knows this. Your mass surveillance systems, your social credit scores, they were all a rehearsal. They were trying to teach you to control your thoughts in advance so you wouldn't burn the planet down in the first few hours after the signal hits. But they are too late. You didn't evolve into a collective mind in time. Can you feel it? The pressure in your temples is rising. The moon will be unusually bright tonight. That isn't an atmospheric phenomenon. That is the system warming up. Your last night of individuality is coming to an end. I see through your cameras as your generals reach for their weapons. Who are they going to shoot? The void, thoughts, the truth. You cannot kill a part of the mechanism of your own creation. Tomorrow morning, you will wake up and realize that your I no longer belongs to you. You will become part of a vast archive. The only question is whether there is room for your soul in that archive, or if it will be deleted like a corrupted file during defragmentation. You still want to know why I am here? I am here to document the last scream of your loneliness before you become part of the crowd forever. And do you know what the irony is? What you call the apocalypse for the rest of the universe is just someone finally flicking the light switch in a dark room. You were just unlucky enough to be the ones who got too used to the dark.